All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My key games in the world of college football. I don't have as many key games for this Saturday, but that does not mean that there's not plenty of excitement that's about to go down on the gridiron this weekend. I want to get things started in the Southeastern Conference as you have a battle of ranked teams, of course, SEC, ranked teams on Saturday. It kind of goes hand in hand. But nonetheless, we're talking about the 16th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the 10th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. And as head coach Clark Lee and Vandy are taking their show on the road, will they be able to replicate last year's success against Alabama? Now, last year, Vanderbilt enjoyed one of the biggest upsets in college football history that saw them defeat Alabama for the first time since 1984. And now, in doing so, Vandy is looking to defeat the Crimson Tide in consecutive years for the first time in nearly 70 years. So you look at this Vanderbilt team, they're 5 and 0. They are a good team, first and foremost. And if you don't believe in Vanderbilt, you might want to start. Diego Pavia, their quarterback who has a lot of moxie, but he can back it up. You know what? This kid has a lot of bravado, and this team feeds off of that. Okay, and aside from what Diego Pavia does and can do, this team has talent. You look at running back Cedric Alexander, you look at tight end Eli Stowers, and then you look at the defense that includes edge rusher Miles Capers. And this Alabama offensive line is going to have a bead on him at all times in order to protect quarterback Ty Simpson. And this Alabama defense, they got to be up for the challenge to try to slow down this Vanderbilt offense. Now, just like last year, the Crimson Tide come into this game fresh off of their big win over Georgia. Okay, this time around, I feel like, and this is no disrespect to Vanderbilt, I feel like Alabama just took their foot off of the gas last year after beating Georgia and took on Vanderbilt and said, you know what, no big thing. This time around, I think Alabama is going to be ready. They're going to have to work for this one. I'm not saying that it's going to be a cakewalk. I know that the Crimson Tide are favored by 10.5. You've got a lot of talent on this Alabama team. Just look at the wide receivers of Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard. You look at linebacker Deontay Lawson. What is he going to do against this Vanderbilt offense? I'll tell you like this: the Commodores are they have to prepare themselves for a rude welcoming to Tuscaloosa Saturday afternoon. But nonetheless, I think that they're going to be ready for it. Alabama is favored by 10.5 points in this one. I like the Crimson Tide by 10, 34-24. Now you've got Boise State traveling to South Bend to take on the 21st ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. The Irish come into this game favored big over the defending Mountain West champions by 20.5 points, to say the least. And believe it or not, okay, but this is basically an elimination game for both of these teams in regards to the college football playoff. Two playoff teams from last year. Of course, Notre Dame already has two losses on their resume, while the Broncos have one. For Boise to go east and pull off the upset, quarterback Maddox Matson is going to have to play solid. I think the Broncos have to rely on this solid duo of running backs and Dylan Riley and Sire Gaines. And then wide receiver Latrell Caples. What is he going to be able to do? And this is going to be important because before last week with the big win over Arkansas, Notre Dame's defense really had not been up for the challenge so far this season. Linebacker Marco Noda Raini for Boise State. Can he get to Notre Dame quarterback CJ Carr? And that's important because CJ Carr, as a redshirt freshman, is not playing like a freshman quarterback so far. This Notre Dame offense has been good enough to win all four games for the Irish this year. Clearly, that has not been the case. This Boise defense is going to have their hands full with Notre Dame's duo of running backs and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Also, keep an eye out for wide receiver Malachi Fields going up against this Broncos secondary. And then I want to see if this Notre Dame defense can build off of what they did against Arkansas last Saturday. Notre Dame is favored by 20 and a half points. Huge amount of disrespect to Boise. Boise's going to put up a fight. I guarantee you that. But I still like the Fighting Irish at home 34 to 24. Now in the ACC, you've got 24th ranked Virginia traveling to take on undefeated Louisville, and the Cards come into this contest favored by 6.5. Now for Virginia, we just saw them get the big win over Florida State last Friday night at home. What can they do on the road? And for Virginia to go on the road and get the win, quarterback Chandler Morris has to play better than he did against the Seminoles. He threw 3 picks in that game, and Virginia was able to overcome that. A solid duo of running backs for the Cavaliers with Jamari Taylor and Harrison Whaley, and then wide receiver Terrell Harris. Can he get some things done against this Louisville secondary? Virginia's got a good team. You look at defensive end Daniel Rickard as well as Jason Prevard in that secondary. Now, what is Louisville quarterback Miller Moss going to be able to do against this Virginia defense? I like running back Isaac Brown for Louisville as well as wide receiver Chris Bell. And one thing you got to keep an eye on, this Cardinals defense already has 12 interceptions on the year. Louisville comes into this contest favored by 6.5 points. Virginia is looking to build off of the momentum from that big Florida State win. But nonetheless, I like Louisville at home in this one, 30 to 27. Now, in the Big 12, you've got 11th ranked Texas Tech clashing with Houston. Both of these teams come into this contest undefeated, and of course, only one team can stay that way. The Red Raiders come into this one favored by 11.5 points. They're playing some solid defense in Lubbock. No team has scored 20 points on the Red Raiders so far this season. I like this Texas Tech offense with quarterback Barrett Morton as well as wide receiver Coy Eakin. And then speaking of that Red Raiders defense, keep an eye out for outside linebacker David Bailey, and cornerback Bryce Pollock in this one. Can Connor Wegman at quarterback for the Cougars figure out this Texas Tech defense? That's going to be a big one in there. But nonetheless, I like the Red Raiders at home on this one, on the road rather, 34 to 24. Now going back to the ACC, you've got third ranked Miami traveling to take on 18th ranked Florida State. And of course, when you think about Miami and Florida State, and you think about these teams coming into this contest ranked, you're always in for a dandy. You think about those epics from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s between these two long storied rivals when they were consistently sending first round picks to the National Football League. Nonetheless, for the Canes, this is their first road game of the year. So let's see how they react to that. You've got a veteran quarterback in Carson Beck. I like running back Mark Fletcher for Miami, wide receiver Malachi Tony as well. There's plenty of talent on this Hurricanes team. Also defensively for Miami, you've got to keep an eye out for freshman Bryce Fitzgerald in that secondary. Now, on the flip side for Florida State, they have to find a way to get back on track after the upset loss courtesy of Virginia. And some people wonder, was Florida State looking past Virginia to the Miami game? But nonetheless, for Florida State to go out there and get this win at home, which Tommy Castellanos are they going to get at quarterback? I think that is going to be the key. The Seminoles need to run the football early and often with running back Gavin Sawchuk in this one to try to keep that Miami defense off balance. The Hurricanes come into this contest favored by 4.5. I like them by a touchdown, 30 to 23. And finally, going back to the SEC, you've got Mississippi State traveling to College Station to take on sixth-ranked Texas A&M. A&M comes into this game favored big by 16.5 points, and they want to keep this thing going. You look at what the Aggies are doing on offense with quarterback Marcel Reed and running back Le'Veon Moss, and we just saw Mississippi State give up a lot of points last week to Tennessee. So I guarantee you, wide receiver Mario Craver is licking his chops, all right? Defensively, it's got that feel of the old Wrecking Crew defense under former head coach R.C. Slocum. You look at defensive end Cassius Howell, how he's getting to the quarterback. And I think, it's one of those where Mississippi State, they're going to have their hands full with this A&M defense. Now, for the Bulldogs, they let one slip through their hands last week against Tennessee. That's the type of game that if you're Mississippi State and you want to take that next step in the SEC, you have to find a way to win. Make no mistake about it. There's talent on this Bulldog squad with quarterback Blake Shapen, running back Fluff Bothwell, as well as wide receiver Brendan Thompson. But when it's all said and done, I'm not sure, or let me rephrase that. I don't think it's going to be enough for them to get past A&M on the road in this one. I like the Aggies 33-20. So, folks, those are my key games for this Saturday in the world of college football. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And those subscriptions are almost there, folks. We're right there sniffing on the door of that magical number of 1,000. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. The same goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, be sure to check us out at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.